Good morning, welcome to a morning review. This is Kim Watson speaking on Wednesday, the 14th of October. Okay, looking at the euro dollar first, and what we've got here then is yesterday it looked like at one stage we were going to get a weekday and it was going to roll over quite significantly, but it ended up quite a small ranging day overall. With, in fact, let's just have a quick measure. It was one of those days that was. Yeah, just had a 64 pip range, which is tiny compared to normal, almost not much bigger than the day before, which had the US markets closed. So very small day yesterday. It's the way it's shaping up at the moment. It looks like it may actually break, push towards the high side, and continue in its upward trend here. We've sort of, well, overall in this 4-hour picture, got a series of higher lows. And well, at the moment, as I say, it does look quite pushy for the upside now. Whilst doing my analysis here, there was sort of two trend lines I was looking at. I can in fact take that one off; it's already been broken. But we're sort of sitting right on this horizontal resistance level here, where there was supply earlier through yesterday afternoon, going into the Asian session. But now it looks like, well, we could be pushing through for the daily R1 sort of level, taking out yesterday's high. So that's what it looks like at the moment, at least. Should we do that? Well, it's quite open from there. We've got no sort of technical resistance on the dailies until we then get up to sort of the 1.458. Was that 1.458? So it's quite a long 1.1458 even. It's quite a long way before we get to any technical resistance aside of that. So actually, I should just look at the weeklies here when looking for any. Okay, we've gone through the weekly 50 again now, so that's sort of cleared out in this week. There's no obvious weekly resistance either. You should always look just for higher time frame resistance when there's nothing short term. Okay, so it's erring towards the bullish side at this juncture with the trend, but very choppy day yesterday. When you get choppy days like this, I do wonder if it is just sort of topping out a little bit, because it just doesn't have the legs to continue for another like 100 pip day. It's just sort of doing like as I said, a 65 pip day. So probably a little bit concerned in terms of its legs on the euro. Okay, cable. So cable sold off yesterday. Bounced sort of into the lower bands. I was looking to, well, it's gone right the way through the lower bands realistically. Closed through and it's daily 50, etc. It's a bit of a game changer in terms of the news yesterday. Inflation was lower than expected. Now the question here even is, are we going to find resistance into this upper band on the 4-hourly, or is it going to be able to push up any further? We've got the 21 rolling over and still facing south, although it's just getting a bit of a curl on it, which you look at the 200 as well, it's sort of flattening out from maybe it may follow the euro a little bit here. And the moment, looking at it from an Audi perspective, it's doing quite a good job of its recovery. It's already hit its daily pivot. It's R1, S1 are miles away. It's a big rangy day yesterday, significant day yesterday. So it's whether it will really pull back to this 50 MA and maybe the middies, the 100, the midi, if it can push up to the upside. It has got some support below it with the 21 moving averages, as this exponential moving average, the 34, etc., all coming underneath the 8 moving average to provide support should it come down some more. So watching that at the moment, though, as I say, for the short term or sort of intermediate term, it is getting into a sort of a more bullish sort of pattern here. However, if it breaks this trend line and through these, and I think it's only if it runs through these 21s, only then would I be really looking on the short side there. Okay, that's the pound. Dollar yen. Well, same old, same old. it's still in this trend. The only difference is that the daily ranges. If you look at the ranges last month and look at the ranges this month, it's tiny. Some of these ranges relatively very small ranges, which make the profit possibility even smaller. If you've got a range of 100 pips, if you can make 40 to 60 pips out of it, that's fine. If you've got a range of 60 pips, you're then sort of looking at like a 20 pip range potentially, or 30 pip, unless you catch the whole move, which is quite unlikely. So for me, the profit potential in the end's almost not worth looking at from that perspective. But you can see the range that we're sitting in here. If it does start selling against the dollar, so it's a dollar yen, we could see it pushing up towards this daily pivot, which is largely sort of untouched. I mean, it got pretty close to it. At the moment, the 21s and the 34 is providing the resistance for this currency pretty much so. But a break of that, well, daily pivot may be on to the downside where we've already hit the S1, which would normally be an initial target for me if I was looking for the short side. So not a great deal of interest in the dollar yen, but it certainly on this sort of hourly time frame is making a series of lower lows and lower highs. Aussie dollar. Let's finish up with the Aussie dollar then. Okay, so the Aussie dollar, it arguably it's sitting on its daily lower band there. It's air kissed the 4-hourly 50, which pretty much ties up with that. Where next? Well, if it can capture it and get any legs, well, maybe up to its upper band. On the 4-hourlies, back to the 4-hourly 8, 21, sort of sitting there, 34 still. I mean, there's still quite a lot of positive notes on this, and it may have just been a daily correction, but it certainly knew how to correct yesterday. One thing that's probably affecting it to a degree is the Chinese inflation fell, and again, it's just sort of just gives that uncertainty about how well China's doing in terms of growth. We know it's slowing down. You get these sort of rallies on the basis of relief rallies almost, and I'm just wondering now if we're going to continue back to the downside on the Aussie dollar. It's a little bit sort of in between. Certainly on this intermediate time frame, it's looking like it could go to the downside, but the daily pivot's not far from us, so it may do that. And then potentially roll over through this sort of trend line that's sitting there at the moment. Okay, news-wise today, really the only significant news this morning is there's the jobs report, claim unemployment report for the UK. But key things I'll be looking for there on that report is the earnings and whether earnings are continuing to grow. Of course, the normal how many people are still claiming, and then the unemployment numbers themselves are important, but it's whether we're still going to get wage inflation coming through. Side of that, really, then we're looking at 1:30. We've got the core retail sales in the US, which can be a bit of a mover. PPI as well, to a degree, very early inflation, but it doesn't have much of a kicker. So it's really the core retail sales in the US there. That's just about it. I'm just looking if there's anything else sitting there in terms of we've already had inflation figures out for China. That's it. So they're the figures to be watching for. So it's 9:30 and 1:30 usual times. Right, that's it for me. Hope you have a great day. I'll speak to you tomorrow. Bye for now.